I think as you go down this journey, you have to ask yourself, what is your level of risk?
Yes.
That you're willing to do. You know, everybody's entrepreneurial journey will be different.
Right.
Mine is different. Everybody's doesn't look the same, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think sometimes entrepreneurs, we kind of look at, you know, you mentioned Fawn, like you look at her, but her journey and what God had for her was different
Right.
than how we started.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you just run your own race.
Yes.
Right? And that's kind of the way I looked at it. I said, okay, here's an opportunity to do something, and literally, what is the worst that can happen? I can just try, you know. Thank the Lord, my wife still works. Like, you know, so it was a big adjustment.
I know, that's right,
you know,
right.
we've had to completely change our lifestyle.
Of course.
But again, you know, the one thing about the word division is
you
like
make the sacrifice for where you're going.
Absolutely. And we have sacrificed. This is the hardest. I'm now going on the business. This is going into month 23 full time. When I left corporate America, this has been the hardest 23 months of my entire life.
Wow.
I mean, there's literally a faith walk that you just don't, you know, when you're not getting a guaranteed paycheck the first and 15th,
Right.
you're literally scrapping and selling.
Yeah.
But it's been the most fulfilling and most rewarding ever. I mean, you literally are living on faith.
Spotlights on, the moment's here. Voices of change, rising clear, leading with heart, fearless and bright, purpose and passion, light in the night. From the boardroom to the block, moving mountains, breaking locks with Taji, Charity, we rise. Real talk, real life, real highs. So step in the light while leaders grow. This is Leaders in the Spotlight. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to Leaders in the Spotlight, the show where we dive into the highs, lows, and unexpected plot twists of leadership. I am your host, Taji Charity, and today, y'all, we have a global leader joining us. Our guest, Emmanuel Waters, is a contract consultant in Silicon Valley with over 12 years of experience navigating both commercial and government contracts. He began his career with the Department of Defense and later launched his own LLC, where he now serves as a trusted subject matter expert for powerhouse institutions like Stanford, the University of California, Berkeley, and several tech companies. He also is the CEO of his own company. We're gonna talk about that later. One thing most do not know about Emmanuel is he is the son of a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and spent his high school years living abroad in Japan and Germany, sparking a lifelong love for travel. I'm jealous. He's visited more than 32 countries and visits a new one every year, exploring the world with his wife and daughters. And did I mention he also holds a BS in international business from my alma mater, Oral Roberts University. Y'all already know I'm hyped, but I'm gonna be cool about it, okay? He also has an MBA from Texas A&M University. Y'all, I can't wait to unpack Emmanuel's journey, insight, and leadership lessons. So let's dive right in. Emmanuel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I've been following you for years. So to be here, I'm ecstatic.
Look, man, you might not be more ecstatic than me. I'm sitting here trying not to rock and bounce out of this seat because I'm so excited. Look, I mean, there's so much to unpack. I want to start first because you're a graduate of Oral Roberts University.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's a thing. How did you get to ORU? I want to talk about that before we get into your leadership journey.
Yeah, you know what? My dad was overseas at the time. We were living in Europe, and I got into Florida A&M. I was like, fam is coming. My mom was like, I don't know how you feel about fam. And so we were talking about it, and she just threw out the name Oral Roberts University. And I was like, oh, the Healing Man School? I'm not
Not the Healing Man School.
I'm not not going there. And we had to choose. And then I had a dream one night. Literally had a dream. And it was like 3 days before we were supposed to choose, and I had a dream, and I was in class with Oral Roberts, and Oral Roberts looked at me and said, "Let me take you to destiny." And
Are you serious?
Yes, that was the confirmation. But here's what's interesting. My mom told me later in life that she was pregnant with me back in the 80s, and she was in the prayer garden pregnant with me, and she prayed and said, I would love for my son to come to this school. So it was like a full-blown promise. Yeah.
So she had visited Oral Roberts. She had visited Oral Roberts. The campus is amazing.
Yes.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It was just the prayer garden, and she said, wow, this is amazing. She was living in Missouri at the time, and yeah, so she said a prayer out loud, I would love for my son to come here. She was pregnant with me, and then it's fulfillment. So if I'd have known, I would have saved some college application rental fees, but you know, it's all right.
Don't get me started on that. That is so interesting. And it's funny because my journey to Oral Roberts University was because my grandmother was one of the prayer partners of Oral Roberts, and I thought I was going to Grambling State University. I'm like, oh, we about to go blow up Grambling State. Like, I was ready, and my mother was like, go have a seat. Like, go have a seat. You going to Oral Roberts, you know. And so that's how I ended up at Oral. But I loved it. It was great 4 years. A lot of stuff, you know, happens. It's you know, it's one of those places where when you're bringing especially your culture into an environment that was predominantly a white environment, you some learning curves, some things that you had to learn, and now we're in this political climate where, you know, stuff just go a little haywire, but we're gonna leave that there. That's another story for another day. But welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your family and your service. Your father being a retired lieutenant colonel, like, you grew up under great leadership, it sounds like.
Yes, he was a retired colonel, and then he was a pastor. So I'm a PK. Yes, ma'am. Ooh. So both my parents. So I call them saved, sanctified, filled the Holy Ghost twice. That's what
They got the double portion for real. They got the double portion.
Southern, I would say extremely strict, but they just taught us right. They just taught us right. And I didn't understand until later in life just how grateful you are for lessons that were learned. Just telling you a little, teaching you how to pray. Like, just, you don't really, as a kid, you just think, oh, why are we doing this? Why are you constantly doing this? But I would see my dad just acting disciplined all the time, you know, just structured and disciplined, and so it just, you know, that was instilled in his kids. And, you know, here I am doing the same. I have so many days where my wife is like, you act just like your dad. I'm like, I do. My schedule, the scheduling, and how I talk, and putting the kids to bed at a certain time, and my routine, and literally the prayer book right by the nightstand. It served you well. Absolutely.
It served you well. It served us all well. I totally agree, because my parents were very strict parents, but they believed in discipline. They believed in putting God first. And for them, they applied scripture, you know, that says, as for me and my house, we gonna serve the Lord. Absolutely. So, you know, especially in my teenage years was when my parents were really sort of devoted their faith and their life to serving God. But my great-grandmother was an evangelist. My grandmother was an evangelist. So you're brought up in that culture, but when you grow up, you start to develop your own relationship, and you see, oh my gosh, like this is really real, and it does, you know, discipline and learning how to live out the faith. It's so rewarding.
It is. It's
so rewarding.
Every lesson is I'm just so grateful. So every lesson we learn, and you're younger, just like, why are they so hard on us? Why are they? I was like, my parents didn't get smart. They didn't know anything until after I graduated from college.
Of course.
Now I'm like, okay, I see what you were trying to do.
I'm living that now. I have a 13-year-old.
Okay, so you're in the thick of it. I got young ones, so it's
so you have time. You're old. You don't understand.
I don't understand. Parents don't understand, but it's like, I don't have to understand. I paid a mortgage. So
hold on. Let me take a sip. I'm using it.
You know, so but now, you know, it's great as I look back, and now I have a relationship with my parents where I just call and we talk about kids or, you know, advice, right? So you get to a point where, and you know, your parents, they kind of stop parenting you, they become more friends, but we weren't friends
when you were growing up.
We were never.
Oh, there was a difference.
We were not friends.
You were not on my friends list.
We're not friends.
And we didn't have social media at the time. We were, you know, but yes. But listen, let's talk about you as the individual leader. When did you first realize, I mean, you've got a chance to travel the world, growing up, living in different countries. When did you step into your own rightful place of just a leader and start to develop and grow, because you're a CEO of a company that we want to talk about? When did that happen for you?
I would say probably in high school. I think we were living in Japan at the time, and I had a good group. All of us were church friends, and we were on the sports team, and I remember us we got in trouble one Sunday afternoon, and my dad came down to me, and he looked at me specifically and was like, you started this because you were the one that led everybody together, and you brought the group together. At the time we didn't have social media, nothing like that. We just met at the church and said, hey, let's all wear red. That was the thing. It was, back in the day, that was rap culture. So I was like, let's all dress up in red and we're gonna look like, Cash Money or somebody, hip hop culture. And,
right.
Wear these crazy necklaces. And so we got in trouble. And, but I knew then,
we got in trouble.
I knew then that I had, and I'm oldest of 4. But I knew then is like you had a leadership role. And my friends follow me, and so kind of, I won't say what I said goes, but hey, let's get together, let's do this, let's wear red, let's wear blue, let's do this, let's play basketball a certain way. So early on I was like, okay, I think I'm called to leadership. Didn't know what it was. I knew in high school I always wanted to be a businessman. I'd walk around with a briefcase and dress.
The look looks good, right? The look looks good. I thought
I'd be in Wall Street, doing something like that. But I always knew I'd be in leadership to some. And then I fell. All my books, passion for leadership books. Okay. Autobiographical, always read. So one book specifically I remember I read and it changed my life was in 7th grade, the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Oh wow, that's a good one.
That's a good one. That's probably one of the best ones, and it just was like, wow, leadership in terms of discipline and what that looked like. So early on, I was like, okay, I want to be a leader. I didn't know what it looked like, right? But yes, early on.
So you started out your career doing contracts, right?
Yes,
Government contracts and things like that. Or you worked for the Defense, Office of Defense. So how did you transition from that? I'm assuming you still do contracts, consulting, but starting your own company and your own brand. Tell us about the business that you started and how you made that transition.
Yes, so I worked for the Department of Defense right out of college, and they brought me out here to the West Coast.
Okay.
And
Silicon Valley, right?
Silicon Valley.
Y'all know when you hit Silicon Valley, right? Okay.
And it was interesting, but I never had a desire to ever live west of Texas. Never wanted to live on the West Coast. I was not I was like California, crazy earthquakes, wildfires. And I moved here in the first winter, and I was like, wow, I haven't been back since. Been 14
like
years
I ain't
now.
Going back.
No. First winter, it was 75.
You pay for this sunshine.
You do, but
you do pay for this sunshine.
340 days of sunshine. It's worth every penny.
I'll take it.
And so I was working for a Department of Defense and driving in Silicon Valley one day. I was like, man, I'm looking around, I'm seeing all these tech companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, et cetera. And I was like, I would love to just transition into, kind of private. And so I just started researching, and one day I was like, okay, I'm gonna make the jump. And I was in this executive leadership program at the time at Department of Defense, where there were some super young folks that were coming up, and had an opportunity to go work at Berkeley. And I just took a leap of faith and went over there, and I was like, okay, I think I'm headed down what I believe was the right path. And then not even 3 months later, I was laid off.
What?
Yep. And the crazy part is, in the government, in the government role, everybody's like, why would you leave a government job? It's so secure. You can't get laid off. You got security.
Yeah.
But again, it's all, you gotta have faith.
No, that's right.
You gotta have faith. You can't live your life.
Drink all this water over here in this cup. You better. Absolutely.
So then I just started doing contracting, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna open up my own LLC and just start helping companies that do legal. And I became fascinated with just legal work, the terms and conditions, and just kind of started reading that stuff. And what's interesting is if you fast forward to even now, alcohol is, when they called me about this role, I was like, what do you need me for? I don't even drink bourbon. Why would you want me? And my cousin was like, because you do contracts. And so every position that I've held previously translated directly to what I'm doing now.
Those transferable skills.
Absolutely.
To the next thing. So your own business that you helped start is a alcohol business.
Bourbon business. Yes,
bourbon business.
Bourbon. Yes,
and you actually brought a
right
Old
here.
Hillside.
Old Hillside. Yes, ma'am. Old Hillside bourbon. So you can imagine my saved, sanctified parents, so they thought about alcohol company when
what did they say?
What did they say? Didn't believe it. I didn't believe it.
Okay.
I didn't believe it.
Okay.
Because I wasn't even drinking bourbon.
Okay.
We didn't grow up drinking alcohol. It was not. It was not a thing. And when my cousin called me about it, I honestly laughed out loud. I'm like, bro, what? No. But when we got on the call and I met with my co-founders, the name Hillside, people don't know, it's the oldest African-American high school in the United States, in North Carolina and Durham, where we're all originally from. Okay. So it was the name built upon really Durham. If you know anything about Durham, it's one of the 5 black Wall Streets there in America. So it's a place of history, heritage, and homage. Yeah. And so when I got on the call and they started talking about what we're going to name it, and then also talking about the story of African-American jockeys that built the Kentucky Derby, I just became fascinated with the fact that it's another opportunity to shine a light on unsung Black heroes, because our histories, I never even knew Black people were riding. I thought the Kentucky Derby was just something rich people did. I didn't know that we had built the sport so much so that the term bet on Black didn't come from Vegas. It came from bet on the Black jockeys back in the day.
Really?
It did.
I did not know that.
Nobody knows.
Wow. So when you said yes to your cousin, I guess it was his vision
yes.
to launch the company. What did that look like? What were some of the things that you started when you jumped in? Because oftentimes people have a vision, but people don't always know how to turn that vision into the business that they truly desire. So what was that like for you? Yeah,
what's interesting is so Jesse, my co-founder, had the dream in the middle of the night to start it. He called Brian, his best friend, then they called Courtney called me. So those three were all together. And then when they called me, I said, I just don't know what I have to add. However, 2 days before he called, with everything going on in America, with George Floyd and everything, I read an article that said Black wealth to diminish in America in year 2040. I said out loud, I would like to do something to contribute and make generational wealth. The next 2 days later, he's calling me talking about starting your own.
Whoa.
And I was like, okay. So it was a sign, but again, I was just like, alcohol though? Right. Like, I saw myself being like a stockbroker.
Talk about taking the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Alcohol?
I was like, alcohol? Bourbon? I'm like, like what? I wasn't even drinking it. I think it's disgusting. It burns your mouth. Like, what are we? But it became something to talk about stories.
Yes.
And I became fascinated with storytelling. I said, oh my goodness, we are such a powerful people.
Yeah.
And all of our history tends to be buried. And so I was like, okay, if I can find a way to uncover it, I'm happy to do it. So my skill set really was, I was like, okay, my cousin Courtney, he's got the marketing and the media, and Jesse has the bourbon, Brian has IT, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll just do the contracts. And then sure enough, they had a contract that they had they said nobody wanted to read it. And I said, okay, this is where I'll kind of fit in. But yeah, I went in just thinking it'd be something to pass time. I had no idea at that point that I'd be a CEO. No.
It would have grown to this point. And you started it in 2020?
Yes, ma'am, the heart of COVID.
Wow. Also reminds me of the story of Uncle Nearest with fun. I'm sure that there's, with learning who Uncle Nearest was from the original Jack Daniel plant. And I think that was the inspiration for her too, really elevating the history of our people that we just we're not aware about, right?
Or they flat out just buried it.
Or just buried it. And I also feel like today there's a lot of, trying to bury our history that's going on. So I appreciate you taking on the charge to make sure that our stories live on and that the legacy of our ancestors live on, and we pay homage and say thank you.
Yes.
Like, thank you. We will make sure to continue to celebrate and elevate the voices, and also be grateful for paving the way, because God knows I don't know that I could have endured. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't even imagine having gone through a fraction of it. And we have our fair share today. We do have our fair share. Speaking of George Floyd, but just the reality of the things they went through then. So tell me about the company. How many team members do you have in the company? Let's just talk about where you are now and what's the future of the company. What's the culture of the company?
Yep. So it's me and my three co-founders that started it, and now we have what, 3 more bodies or ambassadors. So total team of 7.
Okay.
Scattered across pretty much North Carolina here, and then we're in 4 states. What the crazy part is go fast forward 4 years in California specifically. It has to be something past time now. I'm in all BevMos. We're in all Total Wines. We just got in Whole Foods last week, so we're growing really rapidly for a brand our size, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't start this brand with $1 million. Like our friends and family around that we didn't even do that. We put in each maybe like $2,000 and then just went to work.
Wow.
And what was interesting was November 2021, and this is when I knew that we had something special with the business. We had our first bottle signing in North Carolina. If you don't think about alcohol, North Carolina is by far the hardest state to get into from alcohol perspective, is what they call the control state.
Okay, and I'll just say this up front, I know nothing about alcohol, so go ahead.
I'm educating you.
And the only reason why I know really about Uncle Nearest is because Fawn's father was a pastor, and I used to attend his church.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
okay, so go ahead.
So North Carolina, hardest state, so much so that people told us, when you start your brand, do not go into North Carolina. It will kill your business.
Really?
That's what they told us. We knew that we're all from North Carolina. We can't not be in our home state.
Right.
Well, we said we're doing a bottle signing. This is our very first one. The entire city showed up and showed out.
Are you serious?
The line was wrapped around the building for an hour and a half. We got to the store. I was like, are we selling iPhones? What's going on in here? City mayor, city councilman. I mean, everybody showed up. We sold.
Were your parents there?
No, my parents didn't go. This was in the wintertime. It was COVID.
Oh, okay. Parents was like, all right, we're watching. Okay.
They were probably supporting. But we broke our state record.
Are you serious?
We sold over 50 cases, 300 bottles we sold in 45 minutes. We hold the state record for the fastest selling brand in state history. It was literally, imagine somebody telling you not to go into a state and then you hold the state record. And I was like, this is.
That is such a powerful lesson, though, when you're starting a business, that sometimes people will give you advice based on their own experience, but their experience don't dictate your experience and what you're, what's in your heart to do.
Right.
That is, I love that. Go ahead.
No. So it was so intense. Before we started, the manager of the store said, hey, we got a lot of product in here. I said, maybe we should limit the bottles. No. There's not gonna say, he didn't believe either. 15 minutes into the bottle signing, we had to stop and say, okay, y'all can only buy one bottle at a time, because people were literally buying 6, 7, 8, 9 bottles at a time. One lady walked out with it. I mean, it was insane.
Had they sampled it?
Nobody had even tried the product.
So what do you think the success of it was? What drew the people?
4 friends from this hometown that are starting a company. And we're Hillside High School, the largest. My 2 co-founders went to Hillside High School. The entire alumni network came. I mean, it was like, we're the hometown team, and they wanted to support it. 4 brothers that are doing it in a space people don't forget. And if you don't know, I'm gonna tell you, because I'm good with stats now.
Come on now, break it down.
Spirits industry, $37 billion just in America alone, right?
Okay.
Of that $37 billion, African Americans represent 12% of the consumers. So it means we consume over $2 billion, right? But we're less than 1% of ownership in the alcohol space. So you're seeing people, so when I go around, it's no different than in corporate America, right? Or in tech, right? I was generally only African American. It's the same thing now in the spirit space. We're the one of few only black-owned brands in America. It's like, how are we spending $3 billion and we only less than 1%?
The consumers.
Consumers. We as a people, we can spend some money. I'm not mad. I love to consume. But are you putting money in other people's pocket, or do you have something of your own?
Yes.
And that's where I learned, just going through this entrepreneur journey, it was like, okay, you can build a company for somebody else, but here's an opportunity to do something for yourself. And that day, my daughter was 6 months at the time. I came home, I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm about to leave corporate America and do this. And we had just had my daughter, and I just got my dream job at Stanford. I mean, I was the boss.
Are you serious?
That day, I was just like, I could not believe that. To me was the day where I was like, okay, we have something, and I want to take this leap of faith, and do the business full time.
What did your wife say?
Well, she said, okay, she just kind of laughed it off. Yeah, she didn't. She was supportive,
I love my, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. She literally supported, and she knew I wanted. Now I wasn't gonna just quit.
Right, you had a plan.
I had a plan.
Yeah, of course.
In place, but she supported. She was like, if this is what you want to do, if you believe God's calling, just go do it. And then she was just like, what do we have to lose?
I like that.
I think as you go down this journey, you have to ask yourself, what is your level of risk that you're willing to do? Everybody's entrepreneurial journey will be different.
Right.
Mine is different. Everybody's doesn't look the same, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think sometimes entrepreneurs, we kind of look at, you mentioned Fawn, like you look at her, but her journey and what God had for her was different than how we started.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you just run your own race.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the way I looked at it. I said, okay, here's an opportunity to do something, and literally, what is the worst that can happen? I can just try. Thank the Lord, my wife still works. So it was a big adjustment.
I know, that's right.
We've had to completely change our lifestyle.
Of course.
But again, the one thing about the word division is
you make the sacrifice for where you're going.
Absolutely. And we have sacrificed. This is the hardest. I'm now going on the business. This is going into month 23 full time. When I left corporate America, this has been the hardest 23 months of my entire life.
Wow.
I mean, there's literally, a faith walk that you just don't, when you're not getting a guaranteed paycheck the first and 15th, you're literally scrapping and selling.
Yeah.
But it's been the most fulfilling and most rewarding ever. I mean, you literally are living on faith.
Right. But that's what purpose does, right? Mm-hmm. Purpose has a way of fueling the energy that money can't even buy.
Right.
Right? You just can't buy the fulfillment of walking in purpose and doing what you believe God has called you to do.
Absolutely not.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I can relate so much, this building that we're in right now, we have a deed on the wall that says that this property should never ever be sold, occupied, rented, conveyed, whatever, to anyone of African descent.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And so when you think about things like that and running your own race, because that could have been a discouragement, like we defeated before we even get started.
Right.
Because y'all were thinking a long time ago, you didn't want us to have anything.
Right.
Anything. But when that purpose is on the inside of you and it's fueling the energy and the behavior and everything you do, it's like you feel like nothing can stop you.
Nothing. Yeah, that's literally how I feel. I wake up, I'm like, Lord, I'm thankful now. There's a lot of long nights.
Of course.
You know how good you are.
A lot of gray hair too, but I dyed it.
I had a ponytail before I started, but here
Not
I am.
a ponytail. Not a ponytail. I love it.
But a long nights. You're strategizing. There are no days. They're really the first 5 years. There are no days off.
Yeah, no, there isn't. In entrepreneurship, when you're building, it's really hard because you do. You hear about the balance of self-care and the balance of business, but when you're in that entrepreneur space, sometimes it really is the grind. Like you working to make sure and ensure that you're doing everything you can. Because the Bible says faith without works is dead.
Absolutely.
So you gotta put in some work. I believe in God. Trust me, I do. Because a lot of stuff that happens, I'm like, God, that was only you. Yeah. Well, all the things mostly. All right, anyway, focus, Taji, focus. But just building and having to put in that grind day after day. For 23 months, you said you've been doing this?
Yes, ma'am.
And now you in Whole Foods?
Yes, ma'am. Whole Foods, all Bevmos. You can't come to California and not find my bottle. And we still hold the record for North Carolina. We since broke it twice.
Are you serious?
We just got in Hawaii last week. I'm on Pearl Harbor. I'm on the NEX, the base exchange, and so we're just getting into a groove. And I was like, who would have thought?
Yeah. Who would have thought?
And then I'm researching, finding all these amazing Black stories. Like the bottle I got here today, like the first women of horse racing in America. Can you imagine me in 1920 as a Black woman in a horse?
So each of the bottles represent a part of the history?
Yes, ma'am.
So explain that to me.
So every one of our bottles tells a different story.
Okay.
And we all put it on the umbrella of history, heritage, and homage.
Okay.
So we have our first bottle, which was our Kentucky Bourbon. It actually has the high school in the background. That's homage to Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And the Mutual Building, oldest Black building in America, Durham. And then we came out with our Rye, which is our most popular bottle. That actually has the male jockeys. And then this year, we unveiled the very first women of horse racing in America, which I didn't even. So one night I was in the room and I was like, man, we talk about these men. Surely the women were around because, women are the backbone of America.
You better know that, so let me take a sip, sir. Okay, go ahead.
So my saying is always, Black stories are always buried beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Black women are buried 6 feet beneath that. And so
you got my producer saying in the background. They're supposed to be quiet, but go ahead.
It is the truth. And so one night I just looked at my office. I wonder if there's any women in the sport. And started researching, found 3 Black women. I'm like, why is nobody? I mean, you're talking one lady, Eliza Carpenter. She was born a slave, sold twice before the age of 6, and became the first stable owner in America. And nobody has nothing to say about her. She then goes on to open the door for Sylvia Bishop. She was born in 1920. She became the first horse trainer in America. Her horses ran something close to $1 million.
Are you serious?
Right? And then she trained the first Black female jockey in America named Cheryl White. It was,
How did you find all of this?
I just was in the middle of the night. I texted Jesse, my co-founder. I said, hey man, where's the women? It's 3 a.m. He's like, go to sleep. I just spent the next literally 18, 19 months trying to track these people down. Were there any ancestors? Research. Luckily, my wife is literally Scooby-Doo. We found a number and a name online. I called and I left a message. I said, hi, this is Emmanuel. I said, I've read about your mother. I just left a message. And sure enough, Miss Laverne called me back. I was like, yes, that is my mother. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, so fast forward, we unveiled this bottle on Women's History Month of this year. These families knew about each other back in the 40s and 50s. They knew, but never had met. They met for the first time here in Los Angeles. We had a big event here in LA. We partnered with the bank, raised money for their nonprofits for them to re-educate blacks in Ohio and West Virginia. And when Mrs. Laverne got up and talked about how her mother never got her flowers here on earth and we gave them to her, I looked at now, there was a lot of allergies going on. So
I'm sure that, that pollen was thick that day. The pollen was thick.
And I looked at my co-founder, I looked around and I was like, there are 350 people in this room. Who's doing what we're doing? I love what we're doing. And we're not by far $1 million brand yet.
Yeah.
We're very small, but look at our impact. We literally created history tonight. Unbelievable.
So, I mean, I'm sure the liquor is great. I don't drink, but I'm sure the liquor is great. But just the thought of giving her mom her flowers now and bringing these families together is just, that in and of itself is so powerful that this is just a celebration. This is the icing on the cake. This is the celebration of the success of being able to do that. What's the vision? They told me 5 minutes. This is just gonna have to be part 2. So what is the vision for the business, like the long haul? Like, what is your strategic plan over the next 5 years?
Next 5 years is to be a household name. We want to be everywhere, anywhere. We're only in 4 states currently. We got 46 more to go.
Yes.
And you know, this is a very, very competitive space. I guess what space is it but spirits is, I mean, you ever been to a grocery store? I mean, it's liquor for days, right?
Yeah.
But we want to be a household name. We want people to be synonymous with, oh, you heard about Old Hillside? They're the brand that's telling the stories of unsung heroes.
Wow.
That's what we want to be about, you know? So the next 5 years is going to be quite a grind.
Yeah.
You know, we got to raise money, you know, but you just keep grinding. So at the end of the day, we want to be a household name.
So forgive me for not knowing the terminologies, but in terms of like the barrels and the mixing and all of that, where is that done?
Yeah, everything's done out of Kentucky.
Okay.
If you know anything about Kentucky, which I didn't know until I went there for the first time during COVID with my co-founders, Kentucky and bourbon, that it is a religion.
Oh, wow.
Bourbon and horse racing, that is all they do down there. And I mean, you have distilleries, you know, on thousands of acres, and there's barrels and barrels. And what became fascinating for me was we're in this distillery, and you could take a barrel of a whiskey, and one could sit here, and one could sit there, exact same age, the exact same day, and they would come out with 2 completely different flavors based on how they sat, based on the weather changing, the pattern. So it became something like, wow, this is the only thing you could do with whiskey or bourbon, you know? And this is the true American spirit. So that just became something that became fascinating.
Wow. So on your team, who determines like the taste that you want, like the flavor that you want? How do you all collectively decide, like, this is it?
Jesse is what I would call our master distiller.
Connoisseur.
He's our connoisseur. He was the one that was tasting, because first time I tried, I was like, I can't do this. It's just too hot. It's burning my chest. I can't. And then he just taught me how to taste and try. So everything that we do, like for this one, he literally said, let's take, you know, some of our bourbon and some of our mash, let's put it together, have our master distiller in Kentucky blend it, and let's try it, you know? So yeah, we kind of just do taste tests.
Wow.
And that's kind of how we started with our first bottles. We went to stores, and I had never bought a bottle of bourbon at this point, so I just went to random stores, and I was like, okay, what I know to grab? I was like, okay, Jack Daniels, and I just grabbed that and tried it, and I was like, this is disgusting, you know. And he just okay, this is how you taste, this is how you try. But I didn't even know that now, you know, bourbon is a flavor. You could put it in barbecue sauce, you can cook with it, you can make with it. It comes so much flavor in there. You know? You have so much corn and so much rye and so much barley, and so it became, you know, something phenomenal.
Amazing. I mean, these people told me I had 5 minutes, like 20 minutes ago. And this is so hard because I just have so many questions that I want to ask. But I'll just land it with the last 2 questions. Who do you admire as a leader? Like, who's one of your favorite leaders?
I mean, my dad is of course, my dad is the big one. And there's some I love, like, I read a lot of books. So whether it's Colin Powell or
Malcolm X,
President Obama, I read a lot of leadership books. And so really anybody that has sparked a movement, that people can follow.
Yeah.
I'm picking up their book and I'm researching them and learning some lessons. So really everybody is a leader to me.
I love it. I love it. And the last question is, what advice would you give a young person that have a dream of being an entrepreneur, but just don't have a clue where to start, but they have that fire and that passion on the inside? What advice would you give them?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, you just got to start.
Like Nike say, just do it.
You just need to do it. You just have to start. But also, as I mentioned earlier, you by all means look for people who you aspire to be. But I think in our society with the social media, it becomes a thing of like, oh, I just became a success overnight.
Yeah, we live in a microwave society. Everybody wants that quick success, that quick fame.
That's not, that's 0.00% of people. So learn your journey, just do it well, and then just eventually just do it. And please, 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 if nothing else, don't listen to naysayers. Do not listen to naysayers. Do not listen to naysayers. Just run your race. Run your race.
There's nothing else. Well, there's a lot more to be said, but since I have to land the plane, I'm gonna land it right there. Don't listen to naysayers and run your own race. Emmanuel, this has been amazing. I feel like there's so much more I could just chat it up with you about. Did I tell y'all we went to the same school? Different years, but we went to the same. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show today and that you've heard something to help you on your leadership journey. And remember to do those 3 magical words: like, share, and subscribe. And also check us out on our new platform. We are on God One TV. It airs every Saturday, so you can go back and catch up on older episodes of Leaders in the Spotlight and also tune in to the new episodes of Leaders in the Spotlight. So until next time, have an amazing day. Bye now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I hope you were inspired and you gained some valuable nuggets that will help you to become a better leader and to walk in your God-given authority. Bye until next time.